Those are images that you are seeing from Benoni, where the DA will hold its final We Will Rescue SA closing rally campaign. Party leader John Steenhuisen is expected to speak later on this morning. In fact, we are anticipating in the next few minutes that he will be speaking. I do have contributing editor Vuyo Mvoko in studio at the moment, and one of the conversations that we're going to have, obviously, Vuyo, is around the DA's campaign rally. We like us to reflect on a number of things. And firstly, let's start off with the DA's campaign strategy and how it's evolved over the course of the election. Has the message been consistent? What's been most impactful?
Look, they are probably among the most organized political parties in the country. There's no doubt about that. You may differ with them ideologically. You may think that, as it happened a couple of weeks ago with the burning of the flag images, but they are among the most organized lot. Them and the EFF, you've got to give it to them about campaigning, about being organized, being on time, you know, and all this. Whether, of course, the campaign is going to yield better results this time around. Remember, they tanked in 2019 for the very first time after an upward surge that was consistent, you know, is of course a different matter altogether. But you can't falter them for in terms of being organized.
In this year's election, we've got potentially the highest number of registered first-time voters, right? So let's talk about appeal of the DA, particularly when you talk about just the level of organisation within the DA. So let's talk about impressions for these young people that are coming into the voting fray or into the voting realm for the very first time. Is this likely to resonate with some of these young people?
That's a big question, isn't it? Because, I mean, these are young people who have no baggage. Right? These are people who were born in the sort of last days of apartheid, and then a new democracy. So it's been you have parties like the EFF, right, who are keen to mobilize young people, to conscientize them, you know, and they have occupied the space. But you also have these young people who don't want to carry the baggage of the past, you know, who are not necessarily conscientized, you know, but who are keen to be active citizens, you know. The question is whether the DA is able to tap into, you know, their thinking, their mentality, which at this stage, I think, I'm not convinced that they have been able to do that. I think the DA has been a victim of its own victories, so to speak, in that they have been able to mobilize people across, you know, car lines. But I don't think they've done enough, you know, to then, you know, a simple thing. I think it was tone deaf of them, you know, to, for instance, the imagery of the burning of the flag, you know. I think they took it too far. I don't think it's going to resonate, you know, with a lot of young. Because as much as young people may not have that baggage of the past, or may not have been exposed to apartheid, but I think they are alive to our history. So it's a question of how do you distinguish yourself? How do you appeal to them without necessarily, you know, discrediting the struggle, without necessarily, you know, not have a go at the ANC, but not at the expense of history and relevance.
So let's go back to the issue of the burning of the flag and some of the issues that Helen Zille, John Steenhuisen have raised in their defense, that they're not the first to burn the flag. Now, for them, it was imagery. It wasn't the real flag, and that supporters of the ANC have physically burnt the ANC flag. So how's their illustration, right, any different to the actual burning of the flag by ANC supporters?
Remember, you see, and this is the thing about There's a lot we don't know about the South African voter. And that is demonstrated in how a party like the MK party, which is a few months old, but has resonated with so many people. Certainly, if you look at their showing at rallies, you know, without any manifesto, without anyone saying, this is who we are, this is the leadership of the MK. You don't know MK leaders. You know, you don't know, you didn't know what they stood for until, what, a week ago? You know, when they had their manifesto launch, which was like literally a couple of weeks before elections, you know. So there's a lot we don't know about the South African voter and what appeals to them. And I think in spite of their access to resources, it's something the DA has also not figured out. You know, it has gone for a comfort zone, you know, of like saying, okay, these are the people who vote for us, but that pool is almost exhausted. They've got to break new boundaries in order for them to, you know, take over from the ANC, and I think that is what they haven't figured out.
So let's look at this. Let's look at this election as we are, and they're the new voters, the first-time voters. There's also a grouping of individuals that didn't vote in the last election that could have been frustrated for whatever reason. We also have the special votes, people that are voting from across the country, from across the world rather, that turned up in their numbers. How much of it is about the right message versus a potential frustration? Now, there is continual conversation that the ANC is going to lose anything between 10 and 20% of the vote that it had at the last election, right? If it is indeed 10 to 20%, that is 10 to 20% that could go to any one of the political parties, including the DA. So just how much of it is about, okay, they burnt the flag, it doesn't resonate with a certain group of people. Will those people then not vote for the DA? In similar fashion, the president of the ANC had a whole debacle around Phala Phala and all of that, which may have left a sour taste in the mouths of not just ANC supporters, but other supporters. Will those issues likely impact how an individual votes? Or are people a little more pardoning? Or do they look at the broader context? Will they judge the DA based on that one incident that was not palatable for them? Or will they say, oh, you know what, I don't like this, but I'm still going with the DA?
No, I think anyone who was most likely to vote for the DA will vote for the DA. The flag-burning imagery is not going to influence that. I think where it would have made a difference is in persuading those undecided voters who would then make a difference in terms of numbers. But burning of the flag or not, a person who was likely or who was going to vote for the DA will vote for the DA. In fact, if anything, they even more reason to vote for that party. But it is where the difference is going to be. Remember, this is a defining moment for so many parties across the board. It's a defining moment for a PAC, a ZAPO, for a UDM, as it is a defining moment for the ANC, the DA, and the EFF. A lot is at stake in this election. Yes, the campaigning may have been a bit of a damn squib, right? It may not have lived up to the expectation, right? But it is definitely a defining moment for virtually everyone, and in more ways than it has ever been before. But for a Olomis, it's a difference between being seen, being visible. You know, for an Azabo, it's a difference between getting back that one seat they lost. For the PAC, it's about losing possibility of losing.
Could this be the end of the road for many political parties?
It is. It is a defining moment, you know. And for the ANC, for the very first time, the possibility of not getting a majority. You know, and for the EFF, it's about you know, the possibility of displacing the DA. For the DA, it's about whether it's going to continue. You know, remember it lost, votes for the very first time in 2019. So much at stake for everyone, defining moment for everyone, and it's about who is going to, you know, those few votes, you know, that will give the party an edge, or that can make it like disappear. And it's such a critical, election across the board.
It certainly is. Vuyo Mvoko, our contributing editor, appreciate your time. We're going to carry on this conversation with Vuyo a little bit later on, as he'll be with me in the studio once the DA rally commences.